Thank you for tuning in to No Sudden Moves Radio. And remember, stay on the proven path so you don't risk falling behind. Here at Business Legends, we don't overthink it. Look around and see what everyone else is doing. If it's working for them, it will work for you.
Welcome to Wait It Out, where we believe there's no reason to act now. The opportunity will still be there when the timing is better.
The age of disruption isn't coming, it's here. And the boldest move isn't following the crowd, it's following your why. I'm Patrick Ledden, and you're listening to Disruption Lab. Well, hey folks, welcome to Disruption Lab. My name is Patrick Ledden, and every episode I have a chance to talk to a positive disruptor, someone who took a curveball in life or went a new direction, learned something along the way, maybe kept building on that over time. And I'm really excited to introduce this episode's guest, Lucy Westlake. Actually, James Patterson and I like Lucy Westlake so much that we wrote about the relationship of her and her father in the book Disrupt Everything and Win in a chapter called Disrupt Relationships. And Lucy's going to tell you a little bit about her life and her I guess her travels and adventures to date, what she's learned along the way, and hopefully inspire all of us, including myself, to maybe disrupt ourselves in new and different ways. So with that said, Lucy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patrick. It's so good to be on it. I'm excited to talk with you again.
I'm excited to talk with you. It's been a while since I last saw you. And as I mentioned on the front end, I had a chance to interview you and your dad, Rodney, for the book Disrupt Everything and Win. And we talked about how you went on a journey of climbing mountains together, and over the course of time kind of disrupted your relationship, where you went from you were the little kid to you were the stronger climber. So if you don't mind, those who haven't read the book, I'm sure as soon as they hear this, they'll want to pick up a copy. But those who haven't read the book, tell them a little bit about your story.
Gosh, well, I found climbing. Me and my family started doing it together through high pointing, which is climbing the tallest mountain in every state. And we're on a church mission trip in Kentucky. That's where we lived at the time, and found the first mountain, the high point of Kentucky, and we thought it was really cool. So we started to do more high points. And my family was always very into kind of camping, hiking, very outdoorsy, love road trips. So it kind of just fit right up our alley. And we started with just kind of some chill climbs, nothing crazy, just some hikes. But then the mountains started getting harder and harder, and it became me and my dad's thing. I have a younger brother named Jack, and he just wasn't really into it. And he was really young at the time when we started. He was 5. So him and my mom did some hikes, but didn't really want to do anything more than that. So it became me and my dad's thing because I was pretty psyched on the whole climbing thing. So yeah, we just started doing them all together, and we decided after Mount Rainier, I did that one when I was 11, and after that one, we decided we wanted to try to do them all. So that's when we really set our sights on Denali, and that's definitely the hardest and biggest mountain out of the 50. And went there when I was 13, had to go back again when I was 17. That's a whole story in itself, which it was a really positive experience in the end. And then from there, just started doing the 7 summits, which is trying to climb the tallest mountain in every continent. Still was doing it with my dad. He was my partner. And then, yeah, got all the way up to Everest, and basically after that, I decided I wanted to get into guiding just because like my mountaineering was kind of contingent on getting sponsorships at that point because it was so expensive, and I just wanted to be able to do it whenever I wanted to do it more often. And because I didn't, my dad had a job and everything, he couldn't go with me all the time to climb. So I wanted to be able to do that myself. So I started to mountain guide in Washington State. And that's like a very overview of my story of getting into mountaineering and where I'm at now.
Those pesky jobs, they get in the way sometimes, don't they? And right now you're finishing up your last year at University of Southern California. Is that right?
Yes, I'm so close in May. I'm gonna graduate and I'll get to pop back up to Washington State and guide again. I'm so excited.
So you've gone through a few changes along the way, right? When I first met you so many years ago, I know you were a little girl, you were in triathlons. I think you're still doing
Mhm.
them, but you've been sometimes on the bike and in the pool, and sometimes not. You've been on the mountains and off the mountains. You ski. You were the youngest at the time, the youngest North American female to bike summit Everest. I mean, it's just a lot of different experiences. What makes you in your life know when it's kind of maybe to switch gears?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like it's life has kind of shown me the way. I started when I was super young, competitively running, and that was such something I was so passionate about when I was younger. And I still love the sport, but back then I was like, I want to be a professional athlete, so badly. So that was kind of like what drove me athletically. And I got into triathlons for a while too. And then all of that, I was like, I want to go professional. I want to go to the Olympics. And I went to college for running. So my first 2 years, pretty much like my entire life up until then had just been like competitive running and some competitive triathlon. But then when I got into college, college running wasn't really what I wanted or expected it to be. And yeah, like the team culture wasn't great. My coach didn't, I felt like I didn't really work well with him. I was getting stress fractures every single season. And I just wasn't able to compete very much, and I didn't feel like I was getting better. So, after 2 years of just kind of like a repeated cycle of that, I just didn't feel like I was very, like, either improving or very passionate about running anymore. And I knew that if I didn't step away from college running, I would probably never be able, I would ruin my relationship with running in the long term. And that was something I didn't want to do. I still loved the sport. And I just didn't know that there was other, like in my mind, coming from high school to college, it was either go profession or go into college running, to open up the doors to being a professional athlete and all these things, or basically leave the competitiveness of the sport behind. And I just wasn't really taught that there was so many ways to compete and improve outside of college. So I kind of realized that like around sophomore year when I was injured, I signed up without telling my coach for a half Ironman, because I was in the pool cross training and biking all the time, and I had a triathlon background. So I was like, I need to motivate myself in some way. So I did that triathlon and it went really well, and I ended up qualifying for world championships. And after that, I was like, I just think I'm gonna leave the college running life behind because I felt like I could improve myself and compete competitively outside of it. That's kind of what I realized. So that's what shifted me into triathlon. I started doing half Ironmans again for a while, and then when I really realized like last summer that I wanted to make guiding my full-time career, that's when I got really, really serious about like my rock climbing and my skiing. Those are always been kind of like like fun hobbies for me, but never really like competitive sports like running was. But then when I decided I wanted to guide after college, I was like, okay, these are going to be, I need to get really good at these because these are going to be my career. So I started putting a lot of time and effort into those two sports. So that's kind of right now my main two sports is climbing and backcountry skiing.
So as you were going through that, I was just thinking about the times where you have these moments like, oh, this isn't the right thing for me right now. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people probably listening to the podcast who have those moments where they're like, this isn't the right thing for me right now, but they keep doing it. And I'm
Yeah.
just curious, like, take us a little bit into your thought process and maybe even into that moment when you went and talked to your coaches and said, I'm going to go a different direction. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know, for me, my stomach may have been a little churning if I were in your shoes. I'd love to just, if you don't mind, share a little bit of that insight.
Oh yeah, I was so scared. It's funny you say that because I mean, I understand like being stuck in like a habit cycle for sure because I had been competitively running since I was 6 and then I was 20. So like 14 years of running. It wasn't even me who thought I didn't like even think of quitting college athletics as an option. If I did, I probably would have done it sooner because I was just like I was so unhappy. I wasn't like a fun person to be around. I would just always like talk about how unhappy I was in it. And then finally my dad is the one who was like, "Well, you know you can not do it if you don't want to do it." And that's when I just like realized that I didn't need to do it anymore. And I was like, "Oh wow, like I'm gonna do this." And as soon as he said that, I was just like so happy and excited and like knew this was the right thing for me. But for some reason, like I couldn't see that myself. I think just because I had done it for so long, and was in that like cycle, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what life would be like without it. But then when I qualified for Worlds, I kind of had like, I felt like the confidence to take to take a step out of that, to that I would still have something to compete for outside of running. So yeah, going to my coaches was that was really scary. I always kind of had like a little bit of a like a fearful really like kind of view of my coach. He kind of he ran the program. His dad was like in the military and he like kind of ran it similar like very strictly, and like there was definitely not like a there was like a barrier that he established like on purpose between athlete and coach. So I felt that very strongly. And I was very scared to go into it, but I just kept like saying to myself, like, I mean, it's my decision. And he doesn't, once I say that I'm not his athlete anymore, he doesn't have any power over me to do anything. So, I mean, he was like, he wasn't happy, but he was pretty understanding and honestly just like he wasn't able to say like it was my decision, so there's nothing he really could do.
And when you said worlds earlier, qualified for worlds, that's the World Women's Triathlon, is that right? The or the half Ironman, right?
Yes, for half Ironmans.
You're hard to keep up with. You qualify for lots of things.
Yeah, that was the half Ironman World Championships, which was in New Zealand, 2025, very end of 2025.
Awesome. It's interesting. I just want to dwell for a moment in the idea of your dad saying to you, "Hey, you don't have to do this." What do you
Mhm.
think it is? Because obviously you have a lot of drive, right? Who says I can't finish this race? Who says I can't climb this mountain? Or
Mhm.
however you say it, go through it in your mind. I mean, when you're running distance, there's a lot going on in your head. And when you're climbing mountains, there's a lot going on in your head. What do you think caused you to say, like, I didn't even see this as an option to stop doing something?
Yeah, it might have been that. I think from a very young age, I was taught that like to not quit, to never quit. And I think that does have a ton of benefit in life for sure. I think it's enabled me to reach a lot of my goals. But I also think that there is a time to quit and that it's hard to kind of know like when that is, but I just like I didn't see it myself. I think because I was just taught to never quit, and even if it was making me unhappy, even if there was other paths that would be better for me, I just felt like yeah, that competitiveness of not wanting to like fail in that way. So I think that's why I didn't see it myself. And then maybe when someone was able to like step in and be like, it's okay, to do this, then I realized like it kind of empowered me to take that weight off my shoulders. And I'm really glad I did. I think it wasn't right for me, and I've had a lot of athletic success and been a lot happier in general after it. But yeah, I think that's why.
You said there sometimes it's right to quit, or it's all right to quit, or sometimes the timing is right to quit. I kind of captured the essence of what you said there. And I'm just thinking, do you sometimes in your mind say, I didn't quit, I just chose a different path? Or how do
Mhm.
you look at that sometimes?
Yeah, I think quitting, like yeah, you could call it quitting, but I think there's other ways that like verbiage you could use that is more true to what it is, because I mean I still love running. I still, I still do competitions all the time. I don't think I quit the sport. I just chose to do it in a different way that I think improved my longevity of doing it, and also, was better for my body because my body was like breaking doing college athletics and training myself. I was able to just check in with what I needed. And, after 14 years of being coached, I did feel like I knew what I needed. I knew what good workouts are and I know how to push myself. Like it's yeah, so I think it was just like yeah, choosing a different path.
So what people don't know, if they've read the book, they won't know this because we didn't talk about this in the book, but your initial kind of guide on mountain work was with me, right? So
Yes.
we went down to Mexico, folks, and we hiked a mountain called Pico de Orizaba. Is that right, Lucy? Yeah.
Yes.
The highest point in Mexico. And we spend, I don't know, probably a couple hours on the glacier for sure.
Yeah.
On that, I probably spent a long time, more time than most people do, but I made it to the top thanks to Lucy. And I would imagine that you probably in your line of work now, when you are going guiding, and you're guiding on which mountain right now? Or have you been guiding?
Mostly Rainier and
Rainier.
Baker.
Okay, so mostly Rainier and Bakery. So I would imagine in those situations you get people like me who they want to summit the mountain. They don't have all the skills yet, but they're kind of willing to hang in there a little bit, hopefully, and get to the top of the mountain. Just tell me a little bit about the people you run in your work these days, or even about myself and my journey. What's it like when you're trying to help somebody else get to a summit?
It's so gratifying. I feel like, I mean, it is very hard work. And there's such highs and lows. There's, yeah, like having to say, you have to have the safety of the group and yourself in mind first. So having that, sometimes it's hard to do that because people have their goals and people have been training for so long. And to like have to, turn someone around and say, this is like for the safety of the group, this is necessary, is really hard and really low. But then there's such highs too, because people have been putting in so much effort to this and been training. And sometimes this is like their first big athletic goal and achievement. And it's just awesome to be able to guide them through that and equip them with the skills they need. Like we teach on Rainier and Baker both, we teach everyone what they need, with crampons and ice axes. It's all this like gear that's very foreign, and most people have never used before. So just like like giving them the skills to go to the top, and then like seeing a lot of people succeed, is so amazing. And sometimes, yeah, it's like a fine line. Some people need to be pushed, and some people need to be held back. So it's like it's a lot like coaching, I would say. Like you really need to get to know people and get to know like their body language and what they're physically and mentally capable of um and yeah, and then just teach them, guide them, make sure they point them in the right direction, and that's really it.
So going up Rainier is what, a 2 night adventure usually? Is that right? 3 days,
Yes,
2 nights?
yeah.
Yeah.
3 days, 2 nights.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't get the luxury, I would guess I would say, of spending a semester or entire year with a student coaching them on the track and running cross country. So
Yeah.
how do you quickly in 3 days get a vibe for this person needs to be pushed a little bit more, this person's pushing themselves further than they should? I mean,
Mhm.
how do you get that sense? And is it something that to you was kind of an instinctual thing, or did you pick it up from other guides?
I think I've picked it up mostly from other guides. I think also the more people you guide, the better you get at it because there's kind of like telltale signs that most people exhibit. Not all, like some people you really don't know and then they like crash and burn. But most people like it kind of exhibit similar symptoms and signs. So I think I've just become like better at reading them and recognizing them. And you're right, they do change for different people. So like getting on the first day a big thing is just getting to know everyone on the climb. And there's like questions that I've learned to ask and kind of like introductions and like goals and like asking about training and things like that that definitely help like just kind of get to know a person. But yeah, a lot of it too is just like instinct. Like when you've been in the mountains for so long, you do kind of know what to look for when it's like someone's over fatigued or like, not eating enough calories or like super, super cold where they're just like brain function isn't working anymore. It's usually kind of the cognitive things we look for first, because that usually like falls apart. Like, they're not able to like keep their balance very well, things like that, which can be really dangerous up there because you definitely go through some exposed terrain. So, yeah, that's kind of like I feel like how I've gotten better at it as time goes on. I'm sure I'll keep learning how to do it better.
So I know that you've gone to you've climbed a lot of mountains, right? You've climbed You climbed Everest, you climbed Kilimanjaro, you climbed what's the high point in Europe? It's in Russia,
Elbrus.
Elbrus, yeah. You Elbert or Elbrus? I get those confused.
Elbrus. Yeah, Elbrus
Elbrus,
in
Elbert's in
Colorado.
Colorado, yeah. You've climbed Aconcagua and so I mean you've climbed a lot of different places. There's a lot of people listening to this that might have a desire to do that. Maybe not at all. They're like, she's crazy. I'm not going to go do that stuff. But what would you say if you were to like come down off the mountain and just tell us human beings out here about what it is that draws you to it? What do you see up there that we perspective wise and otherwise that we don't see? And whether we make the adventure or not, here's something you kind of like want us to know about being up there.
Mm. I feel like the main thing is I just feel so connected with like nature. And also like I'm a Christian, so I feel very connected to God too when I'm up there. I just feel like the day-to-day life, there's so much busyness, and so much like stimulus all the time. And I totally fall victim to that. Like I'm listening to music probably like 10 hours a day or something crazy, Like I always have something kind of stimulating me. And up there, there is so much stimulus because it's so beautiful and there's just like so much to take in. But I feel like it's just the opposite of what we are subject to in our day-to-day life. Like it's so quiet and peaceful, and I just have the chance to like oftentimes sit with my thoughts a lot. And I feel like that's so valuable to me and like my peace as a person. Like when I'm away from the mountains for a long time, I just feel like less centered almost. Like I feel like I'm missing something. Start to, I don't know, just like get distracted so easily. And when I go back there, it just like reminds me of like what peace truly is and what like getting to know myself and all these things is like how to do that. And then also yeah, I feel like I just kind of reset like when I'm in nature, and that's like such a big part of it. And the sunsets and sunrises are just like breathless. It's amazing up there, and the stars. So I'd say like just like the views you see are, I don't know, they are never get old to me. Like no matter how many times I've climbed the same mountain, I see it and I'm just like in awe of it. So yeah, there's such a special place to be. And I think you can experience that. You don't have to go on a glacier mountain to experience that. Like there's around Rainier, there's this like amazing hikes and things like that where, you can get away from the crowds and find yourself like kind of immersed in nature, and pop out onto these like awesome bluffs and see like beautiful sunsets and sunrises. I do that all the time. So it doesn't need to be something like even super physically demanding. There's like an aspect of that too that's so gratifying, doing something so hard and so challenging. But it can also be like great just to like be kind of more peaceful.
Yeah, that peaceful thing is hard sometimes. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's no excuse for me not doing it myself, and I have some routines that serve me pretty well. But gosh, I think about it right now. I'll get in the shower and I'll have the radio playing, and I'll have some. It's a lot of noise that I'm surrounded with, and sometimes
Mhm.
when you have a lot of noise, you can't figure out what to focus on. You don't know what the signal is that really
Yeah.
matters. So what habits do you have? Because there's people listening to podcasts like this. They're like, I'd love to pick up a couple habits on. Again, maybe they want to climb a mountain, maybe they don't. But there's probably some habits you've picked up along the way or routines that have served you pretty well. Could you share a couple?
Yeah, definitely. I think I kind of go back and forth on like how much I like my habitual routines. I think sometimes I can get like too far into them. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to like break out. And be like more spontaneous and like say yes to more like things with friends. But I think routines definitely, especially like if you have a big goal athletically, they will help you get you there. Just like these habits, like for me, whatever I'm like need to be most productive in, I do it right when I wake up. So typically, like a lot of times, that's I'll like do a workout right when I get up. And sometimes, school is what I need to focus on the most. So sometimes I'll do that. So wouldn't say I have like okay, every day I wake up and I go brush my teeth and I like do a workout, but it's definitely like I always keep a workout log. And I think that is something that's really helpful, like planning ahead, not just like waking up and being like, oh, what should I do today? But like actually having a plan. And if you haven't done that before, like getting a coach will take so much of that stress and needing to plan it off of you, which I think is really great. But I feel like the habits that I'm kind of in right now are like like seasons of life habits almost.
Mhm.
Like when I'm in school, my habits are mainly just working out and doing school. And my school is really strange right now. I have all my classes on Monday and Wednesday. So I've kind of gotten into like a habit of, doing like a shorter workout on Wednesday, shorter on Monday, maybe lifting. And then like Tuesday, that's my big, long, like I'll do like a 5 hour bike ride or something like that. So I kind of have like these habits I get into weekly. But then when I go to Washington, it completely switches because then I'm guiding on these big mountains and like my habits completely change. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely very seasonal. And then when I'm in Colorado and I'm like working most days a week, I'll like try to get up a few times a week and get a backcountry ski in. But it really changes kind of just depending on like where I'm at and what I'm doing.
So I have heard before, there's a few things like we all should be thinking about when it comes to living a bit healthier of a life. And you mentioned movement, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on these other ones. So movement's one of them, sleeping is one of them, relaxing is one of them,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with other people is one of them, and then eating well is one of them. And pick any one of them, but I can go back through them if you want. But the idea of I need to do these things to do really well. What would you say about those things?
I think 100%. I think for everyone it's a little different and like probably the percentages they need of each one. But I think I've fallen a victim to like at different phases in my life of definitely like over emphasizing the movement and letting these other areas of my life kind of slip away. And I think I've gotten a lot better at balancing them and just like prioritizing, rest and relaxation. Like I think those were the things, and also like connection with friends. Those are the things I kind of like would push aside. And I think like I don't know why, but I feel like in society that's kind of like deemed as like your fun free time you do after, you've completed all the work you need to do and like done your workout. Like we kind of like put those things above the others of like relaxing and connection. Like as a little kid, like, you gotta do all your chores and like finish your schoolwork before you can hang out with your friends. And it just like puts you in this mindset of like those aren't as important as these other things. But I think to me, I've been the happiest when I am prioritizing those just as much as everything else. Like I'm not fulfilled even if I run an awesome race, if I'm not having like time with my friends and things like that. So that's something I've realized kind of recently. And this past semester, I've really been prioritizing the relaxation. I love to paint, I love art, and I love reading. And those are things that yeah, I just didn't prioritize for a while. And like this semester I've been really prioritizing. Like I'll like block out sections of my day where I'm like I'm not doing anything else other than like either reading or painting. And I try to do that like multiple times a week, like try to do it every other day. So that's been something that's really, really helped. So I think those habits for sure are a good thing. Habits don't always need to be like productive habits. I think they can be, like peaceful habits as
Yeah,
well.
but sometimes it feels like this guilty pleasure. But you're right. I mean,
Yeah,
but
I don't think it
no,
should.
it probably shouldn't. Yeah. So you got a lot of disruption coming up. You're getting ready to graduate school. You're going to enter into the workforce full time and work up on that mountain. I can't even say hang out. I've been on these mountains. It's a lot of work. You're going to go work on these mountains and help people like myself get up to the top of them. A lot of disruptions coming up for you. What do you feel about it? Are you excited, nervous, angry, mad? Where's your head about all the changes that are coming?
I'm so excited. I've loved college. I loved my experience. I love all my friends. I'm gonna miss the people a lot, but I'm like so ready to be out in the world. I feel like I already kind of like have one foot at the door of like every summer I go guide and every single break this year I'm in steamboat ski instructing. So I already feel like I'm splitting my time almost between college and like real life. And it's just because I'm so excited to do it. Like now I really figured out what I want out of life, and it's so hard to like hold myself back and not like grab it right now. So I'm really excited in May to like I'm just a little burned out of academia right now. Like my classes that I've had some amazing teachers, amazing classes that I've been super inspired and into. And right now I'm just like cannot find that passion or joy. I'm just like ready for the next thing. So I'm very excited for May, and I'm yeah, going to Washington. So yeah, excited.
I'm excited for you. It's the next chapter, which is exciting. It's always exciting to
Yeah.
kind of turn the page. Sometimes it's scary when you turn the page, but it's also going to be really
Mhm.
exciting. And I've often told people when they're dealing with disruptions and changes and situations like this, you usually have a couple different emotions, and that's all right.
Yeah.
And just kind of process them and then tackle the next thing. And one thing we like to wrap up the podcast with is a question that you don't know I'm going to ask you. So here we
Ooh.
go. I have been, Lucy, on the pursuit of the perfect vanilla latte. I love a
Ooh.
vanilla latte. I get it from the same place, a big chain, kind of up by your mountain, up that direction, right? With a green emblem and a lady that came out of the
Oh,
water, right? And I do that all the time everywhere I go. And I was like, this is, I'm talking about disruption. I can't even disrupt myself when it comes to where I get my drink from. So I've been going out and pursuing the perfect latte, and I've been to a lot of different places.
that's
So my
awesome.
question for you is this: what drink have you pursued and tried to find the perfect version of, or which one do you think I found the perfect concoction for this? What would you say?
Mm. Oh, that's such a good one. I don't want to copy you, but I used to not be very into coffee. Like I actually like didn't want to be because I was like my mom's so addicted to coffee, I don't want to be. And then my housemate in college this semester has a really nice espresso machine. So I for the past like 7 months have been in pursuit of making my own perfect latte in the morning, and it's been going really well. I have like a little routine, and I put maple syrup and cinnamon and cardamom and vanilla in it, and it's so
All right,
delicious.
so I need to get the recipe for that one. And it's so nice when you make it at home, right? You're like, okay,
I know.
I'm saving like $6 at least right now, just because the ingredients are only a
Yeah,
buck or two, and
yeah,
it also feels like that little guilty pleasure that you can take in the morning
totally.
before you go hit the rest of the day. So, well, Lucy, I just love seeing you. I've known you since you were I don't know how old, just a little girl, and it's just great to watch what you've done in your life and follow you. And I was so glad we were so glad to share your story with the world in the New York Times bestseller, which is kind of fun, disrupt everything and win. Thanks so much for joining me today. And I just wish you all the best. Stay safe up on those mountains, okay?
I will. Thank you so much. I hope people were inspired by something I said. And yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast.
Well, folks, I guarantee you were inspired by something that Lucy shared with us today. And if you were, let us know. Drop a note in the comments along with this video or share the podcast episode with somebody else. I just want to thank Lucy so much for joining me. I've had a chance, like I said, to watch her for so many years. And when I thought about a younger person, sorry, Lucy, but a younger person who is dealing with disruption and change and moving forward with just an amazing spirit, I couldn't think of somebody better to talk to than Lucy. So, Lucy, thanks again for joining me. And everybody else, I appreciate you joining us for this episode of Disrupt Everything and Win. I encourage you to take the curveballs in life and go disrupt for good.